Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Vasudevaya. Together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Gurutama Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Diraye Nashta Prayeshu Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay, so we're at Canto 3, chapter 12, and we're going to read from text 4 to 20. And well, before we start reading the verses, does anybody remembers where we're at in the Bhagavatam story line? Okay, well, in that case, oh yes.
Well, in the Bhagavatam now, Vidur, well, in the larger story of King Parikshit being condemned to death in 7 days, is listening to the narration of Shukadeva Goswami. He's telling him about Vidur and Maitreya's conversation, and that Maitreya is telling Vidur that about from the beginning of creation, how Lord Brahma created, and now he's going on to elemental creations, and now the creation of Kumars.
Yeah,
Right? Okay.
So good. Thank you. Yeah, so we just heard about eternal time. Maitreya was explaining to Vidura, like you said, and now we're just starting to hear about Brahma's like direct creation in terms of the people, like his children, basically. Okay, so let's read the verses. Maybe like we usually do, one side to the other. I think we don't see like the whole thing.
In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Janaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards.
Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness.
On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there is much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express.
Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child, mixed blue and red, was immediately generated.
After his birth, he began to cry, "O Destiny Maker, Teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place."
The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, "Do not cry. I shall certainly do as you desire."
Thereafter, Brahma said, "O chief of demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all the people because you have anxiously cried."
My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity.
Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Manu, Manu, Mohinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Rata, Dabza, Bhuareta, Baba, Kala, Mamadeva, and Dharta, Brother.
O Rudra, you also have 11 wives called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Di, Driti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swada, and Diksha. My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you in the different lives. Since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. The most powerful ritual is boldly colored with food mix that God created, many offspring exactly resembling him in features, strength, and furious nature.
The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra were limited in number, and when they assembled together, they attempted to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entity, saw this, he became afraid of the situation.
Brahma told Rudra, O best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides, with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me. Let's go.
My dear son, you had better situate yourself in penance, which is auspicious for all living entities, and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was.
Two more.
By penance, by penance only, can one even approach the personality of God, who is within the heart of every living entity, and at the same time beyond the reach of all senses.
Sri Maitreya said, thus Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas. Addressing him with words of assent, he entered the forest to perform austere penances.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we've just read that Lord Brahma gave birth to the four Kumaras from his mind. The four Kumaras, the little cute babies that are actually renunciates. And then they were asked to make progeny, but they didn't want to because they're fully liberated people. And when you're fully liberated and you have no attachment to material nature, it's okay to refuse an order that basically entangles you to material nature. And then out of his anger, which he was trying to control, but actually it says in the Prabhupada that he basically failed to, Lord Rudra, which is Lord Shiva, was born in a mode of, passion and ignorance. And then he accepted to make progeny, but his progeny went awire, basically, and we're basically about to destroy the universe, which was just being created. And so Brahma was like, hey, you don't need to do that. This progeny is not really wanted. It's gonna destroy the universe in an untimely, manner. And so he suggested him to absorb himself in austerity. So the way that Lord Rudra or Shiva curbed his anger was through austerity. And so that's where we're at now. Okay, so I guess we can. Oh yeah, we wouldn't be here. It wouldn't have worked. Okay, so let's go to verse 11. That's our focus verse for today. Okay. Rid Indriya, wait, Rid Indriyanya Suryoma, Vayuragnir Jalamahi, Suryas Chandras Tapaschaiva, Stananya Grekritante, Ridindriyanya Suryoma, Vayuragnir Jalamahi, Suryas Chandras Tapaschaiva, Stananya Grekritante, Ridindriyanya Suryoma, Vayuragnir Jalamahi, Suryas Chandras Tapaschaiva, Stananya Kripitanite, Ridindriyanya Suryoma, Vayuragnir Jalamahi, Suryas Chandras Tapaschaiva, Stananya Kripitanite, Ridindriyanya Suryoma, Vayuragnir Jalamahi, Suryas Chandras Tapaschaiva, Stananya Kripitanite. Okay. No, word for word together. Rit, the heart, Indriyani, the senses, Asu, life, air, Vyoma, the sky, Vayu, the air, Agni, fire, Jalam, water, Mahi, the earth, Surya, the sun, Chandra, the moon, Tapa, austerity, Cha, as well as Eva, certainly, Stanani, all these places, Agri, here and before, Kritani, already made there for you. My dear boy, I've already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. Someone wants to read the purport?
The creation of Rudra from between the eyebrows of Brahma as a result of his anger, generated from the mode of passion, partly touched by ignorance, is very significant. In Bhagavad Gita 337, the principle of Rudra is described. Krodha, anger, is the product of kama, lust, which is a result of the mode of passion. When lust and hankering are unsatisfied, the element of krodha appears, which is the formidable enemy of the conditioned soul. This most sinful and inimical passion is represented as a ahankar, or the false egocentric attitude of thinking oneself to be all in all. Such an egocentric attitude on the part of the conditioned soul, who is completely under the control of material nature, is described in Bhagavad Gita as foolish. The egocentric attitude is a manifestation of the Rudra principle in the heart, wherein krodha, anger, is generated. This anger develops in the heart and is further manifested through various senses, like the eyes, hands, and legs. When a man is angry, he expresses such anger with red-hot eyes, and sometimes makes a display of clenching his fists or kicking his legs. This exhibition of the Rudra principle is the proof of Rudra's presence in such places. When a man is angry, he breathes very rapidly, and thus Rudra is represented in the air of life, or in activities of breathing. When the sky is overcast with dense clouds and roars in anger, and when the wind blows very fiercely, the Rudra principle is manifested. And so also, when the sea water is infuriated by the wind, it appears in the gloomy nature of Rudra, which is very fearful to the common man. When fire is ablaze, we can also experience the presence of Rudra. And when there is an inundation over the earth, we can understand that this is also the representation of Rudra. Somebody wants to.
No, continue.
Okay. There are many earthly creatures who constantly represent the Rudra element. The snake, tiger, and lion are always representations of Rudra. Sometimes, because of the extreme heat of the sun, there are cases of heat stroke, and due to the extreme coldness created by the moon, there are cases of collapse. There are many sages empowered with the influence of austerity, and many yogis, philosophers, and renouncers who sometimes exhibit their acquired power under the influence of the Rudra principle of anger and passion. The great yogi Durvasa, under the influence of this Rudra principle, picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and a Brahmana boy exhibited the Rudra principle by cursing the great king Parikshit. When the Rudra principle is exhibited by persons who are not engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the angry person falls down from the peak of his improved position. This is confirmed as follows. Yenira.
Okay.
The most lamentable fall down of the impersonalist is due to his false and unreasonable claim of being one with the Supreme.
Thank you. I really like that sentence. When the Rudra principle is exhibited by persons who are not engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the angry person falls down from the peak of his improved position. The reason why I like it is because the anger we're going to talk about today is the anger that we experience in the material world. But all the emotions, including anger, exist on a spiritual platform. So in the spiritual world, they also experience anger, but it's not coming from this false ego place. It's coming from a desire to please Krishna, because even Krishna gets pleasure from experiencing different moods from the people he has relationships with. But today we're going to focus on the anger from this material world. Okay, so that's basically what we just read about, mostly the anger of this material world, how it influences us. And one thing it talked about a little bit that made reference to is basically the anger ladder. So how do we get to the point of anger? And for the purpose of understanding what anger is, on a neutral level, because I know that in my life I've shamed anger a lot, or I've seen it as something really despicable and terrible, which didn't really help me deal with it, So I wanted to try to get a neutral perspective on what anger actually is. So we come to this material world, as you know. Maybe you don't know. I don't know. We come to this material world. Actually, first, before we come to the material, we're just pure souls, right? We're parts and parcel of Krishna, meaning that we have naturally pure love for Krishna, and we are pure in nature. And then because we have this, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, we also have this natural desire to lord it over material nature, or lord it over something. And some souls decide not to act on it, and some souls like us decide to act on it. And so in the beginning, we're given basically a chance to fulfill that desire through being put in material nature. And it's not inherently bad in itself. So that we're able to do that, we're given the false ego. And the false ego makes it so that we have this false belief that everything in the material world can be enjoyed and controlled by us, which is not true. But if we didn't have that false belief, we wouldn't be able to lord it over material nature. And even though we do have it now, this false belief, there's still limitations to which we can actually control or enjoy material nature. The point is, in some purports, not in this one, it says that when we first come here, we are actually still conscious of Krishna. We still know that he's God, and we are following those principles that allow us to, yes, lord it over material nature, but also serve Krishna, keep Krishna at the center as we're doing that. That's what Brahma is doing. The problem comes when we start not wanting to include Krishna in the picture. And we're like,
I want to lord it over material nature, and I also don't want to serve you. And so then we get lower and lower and lower in the mode of ignorance. So how does anger come? We're in the state of pure love. Then because we want to be here, we get covered by the false ego. And in contact with the three modes, the natural love that we have for Krishna becomes lust. So instead of wanting to serve Krishna, we want to serve ourselves. That's because of the false ego. And so then out of this lust, what happens? Frustration. Because yes, now we're able to enjoy material nature, but we're still limited beings. Like we're still so tiny little particles of Krishna. So there's no way we can actually enjoy the same way that he can. And so what happens? We become frustrated because we're not able to get what we want from, with this lust. And then from frustration comes anger. It's like an accumulation of frustration. That's what we're going to talk about today. But after anger, when the ignorance takes over even more over the passion, then we get delusioned and then we get mad. So yeah, that's the anger ladder. And another thing I want to say about anger is that it's a it's a very natural thing, in the sense that we just talked about the three modes of material nature, right? All of us are controlled to some extent by the material modes of nature. Though since we practice Krishna consciousness, he kind of like gets in the game and uses whatever our conditioning is to like help us grow towards him. But the point is that naturally, because we're influenced by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, we will experience anger. Just like Lord Brahma did, who's like the topmost living entity in our creation, right? And so it's not like we can fully avoid anger, but we're going to get a little bit more into that. Then, if we understand that everything in the creation comes from Krishna, then we can also understand that everything in the creation has a purpose, right? So all the material elements, the false ego I just explained, has a very obvious neutral purpose, which is not meant to be bad. And then there's, the other elements like water, ether, fire, air, earth, all these things, they all have a purpose. And so every little thing has a purpose, including our emotions, and so including anger. What is the purpose of anger?
So I was at the Verizon store just getting my phone fixed, and I was just conversing with the guy who was taking a while. Like, you get a lot of angry people in here a lot. He's like, yeah, but it's usually the older people, but it's just because they have an unmet need.
Wow.
I know.
Dang.
They have an unmet
Need.
My immediate thought was to enact change. Like anger for any purpose is usually they want something to change.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Kunti.
I think of anger as a brilliant and wonderful alarm. It's just an alarm, like your car alarm goes off.
Yeah.
And you think, well, let me go check. what's
Right.
going on.
Thank you. Sundari.
Anger, what did you ask?
What is the purpose of anger?
Purpose, yeah. Anger, we can fight. Not with anger, but we can use anger to fight.
Yes.
Just like Arjuna.
Yeah.
Used anger to fight. It's a good.
Yep.
To be able to use anger and not to use fire.
Right.
Just like fire. We cook with it. We don't want to be cooked.
Okay. So, you had something?
I think it's Kunti over there who set the alarm.
Yeah.
So kind of on that as well, anger can be a very potent indication that a boundary has been crossed that I wasn't aware of. And to be self-aware, like, oh, what are the boundaries that I'm needing to establish in integrity with how I move through the world, with how I move through my relationships.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, one more.
There are 6 enemies within us, such as Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Mascharya. These 6 enemies are devouring us, every aspect of our lives. So this anger is one of them.
Yeah.
Unless we control this anger by means of our spiritual life, spiritual practice, it will finish us.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
So there are 2 points that were brought today, which are both true. There's 2 ways to look at anger. The first way to look at anger, which is kind of a higher way of looking at it, is that anger is actually a reminder to us that we're still identifying with the body. So on that level, when we get angry, usually it has to do with our false bodily identification. So what we think we are in this lifetime or in this material world. It doesn't have to do with our actual soul, which is who we really are. It usually has to do with practical things or things we identify with in this life. And so in that way, when anger comes, it's a little reminder of, hey, what are you identifying with right now? You know, it's kind of a reminder of that, oh, why am I angry? And it's like, oh, it's kind of silly, I guess, you know? And then on a practical level, like a lot of you have mentioned, we are in this life right now. We live in this world, in this body, and we learn things from this body and from this life. And so, yes, anger is also just a practical tool for us to look at our needs and assert our boundaries and understand our set of values. And by doing that, we can actually function in this world, which is important because by functioning in this world, we can take to the path of bhakti. We can dovetail towards the path of bhakti, and we can do that in a healthy way. All right. What does uncontrolled anger looks like? I'm going to take 2 people. Uncontrolled anger. Can we have a mic?
Prabhupada says, I think in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, when we become angry, our whole body becomes polluted. And generally, when you get angry materially, you immediately lost at that point, whatever situation. So those are something like this.
Okay.
Uncontrolled anger for me looks like a forest fire that's ablaze. Can't be checked.
Yeah, that's right. Now, how does controlled anger looks like? I'm going to take 2 people.
It's switched on at the appropriate moment and switched off at the appropriate moment.
Yeah, thank you. Just see if there's well, there's also Prabhu at the back, but you did raise your hand first, but yeah.
It is the natural phenomena that within us, anger is there. But if we use that for Krishna's service, it will be subsided. The best example is Hanuman.
That's a really good one, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I got a few other ones. I mean, when it comes to uncontrolled anger, it can look like violence, it can look like lashing out, and one that we don't really think about is it can look like repression. Uncontrolled anger is also repressing. When you try to repress the anger, it doesn't vanish, it just builds up secretly inside. And then controlled anger, it could be someone that becomes like really physically healthy. like they curb their anger, or it could be someone who's very calm, poised, and confident, and also gentle in establishing their boundaries. It can be someone standing up for someone else, protecting somebody on a personal scale, but also on a grand scale, like activism, or like something that, let's say, would be of value, protecting the rights of people that are being abused or such things. That's controlled anger. And then also taking shelter of Krishna. That's also controlled anger. It's instead of acting or reacting when we get angry, it's going to Krishna and either expressing ourselves to him, or you can even be angry because like, why am I in this material world? Why did I do this? And then instead of like beating yourself up, you just go to Krishna. You're like, you know what, Krishna? I'm going to chant my 16 rounds every single day. That's controlled anger. Yeah, for Karnik 64, you heard him. Okay. Okay, and so how do we temper anger? Like I said, control of anger isn't about suppressing anger. It's about finding healthy ways to express anger. Just like any other emotions, if you don't express them, they build up and you end up getting physically sick, mentally sick, emotionally sick, like whatever sick, you get sick. So like if you suppress your anger, it's not gonna go well. If you find healthy ways to express it, that would really help you. And so healthy ways to express it, because we've already talked about it a lot, I'm just going to go through them. It could be exercising, like finding a way to physically get it out in a way that's beneficial for you and that won't cause harm to others. There's yoga. Yoga is great because it's a physical activity, but that's also meant to be an alignment like type of exercise of your mind, your body, and your heart to Krishna. There's journaling. So if you don't feel comfortable to talk to someone, like, or you're just happen to be by yourself, you can journal your emotions. So at least you're getting them out in some way. There's breathing exercises that helps a lot. Always feels good. And then there's talking to a mentor, a trusted mentor, or to Krishna, like to your deities, or through japa or something like that. And then another thing that helps a lot, and that's helped me a lot, and that doesn't help me when I don't do it, is to pause before reacting. So like when you get that trigger of, and the anger comes up, our immediate, like, not habit, but like our default mechanism, I would say, would be to just react, to do something about it right now. But that doesn't usually end up going very well. So pausing when there's a trigger can really help temper the anger. And I just go to my room and then I do what I need to do, and eventually I calm down. And sometimes that takes more than one day. So that's tempering anger. Now, on a similar note, how do we prevent anger outbursts? Because, okay, we've talked about what uncontrolled anger looks like, what controlled anger looks like. Then what can we do to temper it when we're in the midst of it? We're feeling that anger. What can we do to temper it? We talked about that. Now, how can we even prevent like outbursts of anger to come? Anyone has an idea? Yes.
Yeah, we watch, according to that sequence in the Gita, we watch what we contemplate and to what extent that's becoming a build-up or a strong desire that we can't control. So, watching what we contemplate and for what reason, and just kind of nip it in the bud, like catch it before it becomes like overly generated, strong desire, because that's what common is, overpowering desire, which can be purified, but we have to really Yeah, contemplate the right thing in the right way.
Yeah.
So contemplation. Yeah, catching, being mindful, catching ourselves while we are
Thinking about.
absorbed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Any other one?
Detachment, studying philosophy, meditating. Who am I? What am I? What's important? What are my priorities? And I'm coming back to what you mentioned earlier, that anger is a sign that, oh, I'm attached to something. Otherwise, I wouldn't get angry about it. So the more I practice detachment, the more I'm unfazed by things because I understand all I am, spirit, soul, serving Krishna. And the more I let go of anything that's not that, the less triggers there are for my anger. I'm not emotionally entangled with the things that need to be.
Yeah, that's kind of a completion. It's like he's saying this is, you have to be mindful of what you're contemplating, and that's what you should be contemplating, basically.
I was thinking that if we observe when we do have outbursts, like when things do trigger us, and to actually, become mindful and notice of those particular things, and try to meditate on or ask Krishna, like, why am I feeling angry about this? To kind of understand your emotion.
Yeah.
But on a broader scale, also to have actually a life where we have these practices above mentioned, incorporated. So we systematically become healthy. So it's more like a lifelong, like a lifestyle choice and practice, and a combination of practices, rather than just like one single effort at that particular time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're developing a habit. And on that note, I had as a way to prevent outbursts, practicing pausing when triggered. So I brought it up a little bit earlier, but that basically means that if you don't have already a habit to pause after getting angry, then practicing that habit can really help prevent bigger outbursts. So for example, a small thing that could bother me. Okay, I'm going to give a false example. This did not happen, but let's say that I kept a sweet in my fridge and then I come back home and then like my friend ate it. I would be like frustrated, but I wouldn't be like furious, So if that happened and at that time I decide, let me pause before I go to her room and tell her that I'm not happy, let me pause and calm down, then that's a practice, that's a practice I'm able to do. And if I do that every time there's a small trigger, then when there's a bigger trigger, and that's an actual personal example, anything that has to do with my deities, I actually get truly angry about. So like one time some people were getting excited and we were in my room and they knocked off my altar and I raised my voice and told them to get out of my room. I was really mad. But the point is, even if that's bad, it's not a good thing that happened, I didn't have to lose my temper. And with practicing pausing before reacting when I get angry, then when those bigger things that make me more angry happen, I already have the habit of like, don't react just yet, so that it doesn't create bad repercussions. And then I had finding healthy expressions for anger. That's also one that that's also something that can prevent anger outbursts, because instead of suppressing, that's also what causes anger outbursts. If you suppress even small things and you just suppress, eventually it randomly comes out over some random stuff. And so if every time a little trigger happens, no matter how small, you find a way to express it in a healthy way, then you can prevent a buildup of anger happening. And then the last thing I wanted to mention before the class ends is sincere, heartfelt sadhana can also be very beneficial in preventing big anger outbursts. And the reason why in my perspective, but I'm sure there's much more to it, is that when we chant or japa or sing the morning prayers, or in my case, I worship deities, maybe some of you do, but whatever it is your sadhana, whatever it is that you engage in devotionally in the service of Krishna, if it's done with an open heart, with feeling, with intention, then you're allowing Krishna to take more space in your heart. Because the thing is, Krishna accepts your free will. So if you do everything with a closed heart, it's not really giving him much space to work with. But if you do it with an open heart, then he sees, oh, this person is being vulnerable with me. When someone is vulnerable with you, you have more space to be there for them. And so Krishna takes that space, and what does he do? He welcomes your emotions. If I chant with heart, Krishna embraces those emotions, and then what do I feel? I feel relieved, I feel supported. And so because I have that inner support from Krishna, I feel more tempered in my emotions in general, not just with anger. And then Krishna also, without even you asking, he cleanses your heart. He cleanses your anarthas, or the impurities that are in your heart. And that happens anyway, but it happens on an even larger scale if your heart is open, if you're vulnerable with him and you're letting him see, hey, this is how I feel. And then he gets in there and he's like, okay, let me help you with that, So sincere, intentional sadhana is very important for tempering our emotions, including anger. We have 1 minute left, so if anyone has a question or comment. Yes, Kalindi.
Just have a comment on the part 2 of the alarm. To also look what I like to, when I approach anger, I like to see it as an opportunity, wow, what is Krishna giving us this opportunity to learn?
Yeah.
What is it that we're supposed to all learn? Krishna so in is that there's so many different lessons in one experience. So to approach it in that way and then have gratitude for it.
Yeah.
Actually.
So finding Krishna's message in the emotion that comes up. You had one too? Okay. Anyone else? Prabhu?
Because of one's karma, so someone has more, someone has less. So when Srila Prabhupada came first time to Boston Harbor, so he mentioned in his Bhagavad Markine, Rajastama Bhavera Sabai Achan, means in Western world, mode of passion, mode of ignorance is filled with. So therefore, Prabhupada is so genius when they became gradually nice devotee. So Prabhupada engaged them in so many ways so that their mode of passion, mode of ignorance will be subsided. And it is very important to do that. It's in relation to Krishna. So therefore, gradually it will be subsided. And actually it is seen those devotees were very passionate. I have seen it personally in all over, I traveled all over, almost 50 states. Many devotees have many stories, but they became first class devotees because of their service, as Srila Prabhupada has engaged.
Thank you, that's good. Okay, well, if anyone has any other questions, maybe we can talk over breakfast. Okay, Shrimad Bhagavatam ki. Oh my God.
The class was nice.
Thank you.
Which persons without faith in our hearts, the church of the remnants of the Lord, in the day Shri Govinda, Shri Krishna, your God, the transcendental Krishna, and the
Salam ki jai. Oh, yeah.
You probably charge
I don't want to say.
Open your mouth. Move the lip up and down.
I can't say anything though.
This stomach. So, so I have been thinking all the time. I want to have your number. So,
You don't have?
no,
Really?
please.
Oh, that's my bad. I didn't give it to you.
That's my foolishness. I didn't ask.
I figured out like you're always here. But you never know. You know what I heard? Oh, it's Puerto Rico. You know what I heard? Anger. Don't let it short.
Oh, it's Saint Anna, Antonio.